Stop whatever you think you know about cats. Everything you have ever read about them, everything you were told, everything you assumed. This animal ignored all of it. The rules you learned do not apply here. The behavior you expected does not exist here. And the fact that nobody ever showed you this version of a cat is the most interesting part of this entire story. This is the fishing cat, and it is about to make you rethink an entire animal species. Think about every cat you have ever seen near water. The second they get too close, something shifts. They do not just stop, they reverse. Fast. Like the water is not water but something else entirely. Something their body refuses to accept. Every cat does this. Big cats, small cats, wild cats, house cats, same reaction. Every time, no exceptions, except this one. And the difference between this cat and every other one is where this whole story begins. Because this animal does not back away from water. It walks straight in. It submerges completely. It opens its eyes underwater. It chases live fish at full speed through dark, moving rivers. And it does all of this not by accident, not out of desperation, but because water is exactly where it was always meant to be. The fishing cat lives across South and Southeast Asia, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Thailand, Indonesia. But do not picture it roaming open forests or dry grasslands. This cat has one requirement, and it will not negotiate on it. Wetlands, marshes, mangrove forests, flooded reed beds where the ground is soft and the air is thick with moisture. Places that feel unstable and half-drowned. Environments that most predators avoid entirely. While other hunters competed for dry land, the fishing cat looked at the water and made a decision that changed its entire biology. It claimed the territory nobody else wanted. And then it spent thousands of years becoming something no other cat ever became. Not because it was forced to, because it chose to go deeper. Now here is where everything you assumed starts falling apart. Pick up any cat, your house cat, a stray, any cat, and look at its claws. They retract completely. They fold back into the paw cleanly, kept sharp and hidden until the moment they are needed. Every wild cat on Earth works this way. The fishing cat does not. Its claws never fully retract. They stay partially extended at all times, slightly out, like small permanent hooks. On wet mud, on algae-covered rocks, on a slippery riverbank where one wrong step means losing your prey, those exposed claws grip. They hold. They give the cat traction in an environment where every other predator would be sliding. This was not a mistake made by evolution. It was a trade. The fishing cat gave up the perfectly sheathed claw, and in return it got the ability to hunt in places no other cat can even stand on without falling. Now look between its toes. Webbing, real functional webbing stretching between the digits. Not dramatic, not like a duck, but enough. Enough to push water efficiently with every stroke. Enough to give the cat actual swimming power rather than just frantic paddling. Combined with its dense muscular body and its thick tail that steers like a rudder underwater, the fishing cat moves through rivers with a control that should be impossible for a land predator. It does not fight the water, it uses it. It reads it. It works with it the way a boat works with wind. Not against the current, but inside it. And let's talk about its fur. There are two layers to it. The outer coat is coarse, and sheds water immediately, like a raincoat. Beneath it sits a second layer, soft and dense, that moisture almost cannot reach. This is called a double coat. When the fishing cat submerges fully, the outer fur gets wet, but the inner layer stays dry. Its skin stays warm. Cold water cannot steal its body heat the way it would from any other cat. Without this, every hunting session in a cold river would slowly drain the animal's energy until it could not hunt at all. With it, the fishing cat can enter the water again and again, hunt for hours, and walk away without losing the warmth it needs to survive the night. But none of that, not the claws, not the webbing, not the waterproof fur, is the most extraordinary thing about this animal. The fishing cat uses bait. Let that land for a moment. A wild cat. No training, no human involvement, no tools. It crouches at the water's edge and goes completely still. Its eyes track movement beneath the surface. Its long, sensitive whiskers pick up the smallest vibrations in the air and water in front of it. It reads the river like a map, and then, deliberately, precisely, it taps the surface with one paw. It creates small, controlled ripples. Then, it freezes again. Because fish near the surface are wired to respond to surface movement. It can mean insects falling. It can mean food. The fish rises toward the ripple, gets closer, and in the fraction of a second that it enters range, the fishing cat strikes. The paw enters the water faster than the human eye can track. The claws hook, and the fish comes out. This is planned hunting. This is a wild animal using a deliberate trick, one it inherited, refined, and applies every single time conditions are right. Most predators on Earth simply react to prey. This cat creates the opportunity first. That gap between reacting and planning is not a small one. And the fishing cat sits firmly on the planning side. When the water moves too fast for this technique, the cat abandons it completely and switches strategies without hesitation. It dives in, fully submerged. It chases prey underwater, adjusting direction mid-swim, closing the gap on a fish that has every physical advantage in its own environment. And it still catches it. It is not hunting like a cat anymore. It is hunting like something that was built for this long before anyone was watching. Fish are the foundation of its diet. But the fishing cat does not collapse when fish are scarce. It also takes frogs, water snakes, small birds, crustaceans, and occasionally small mammals near the water's edge. Flexibility in a predator is not a sign of weakness, it is a survival advantage. When one food source disappears, the fishing cat moves to the next without panic, without confusion. It has options because it built them over thousands of years of living in an environment that never stayed the same from one season to the next. Its territory is large for an animal of its size. A single adult male patrols several square kilometers of wetland, marking boundaries with scent, claw marks on trees, and calls that sound nothing like what you expect from a cat. Deep, guttural, almost like a bark. Something ancient lives in that sound. Females hold smaller territories and defend them with the same fierce intensity, especially after giving birth. Cubs arrive in litters of 1 to 4. The mother hides them deep inside dense reed beds where almost nothing else dares to follow. She hunts alone and returns with food. She guards the entrance of the den with her body if anything comes too close. And slowly, carefully, she introduces her cubs to the water. First the edges. then shallow wading, then swimming, then the technique, the crouch, the stillness, the tap, the strike. By the time a young fishing cat is ready to live on its own, it has watched its mother demonstrate every skill it will ever need. The knowledge passes through behavior, through patience, through watching and repeating until it becomes instinct. That transfer, from one generation to the next through observation and repetition, is not so different from how we pass knowledge down ourselves. The mother does not explain, she simply shows. Now the story shifts, and it does not shift gently. The wetlands this cat built its entire existence around are vanishing. Across Asia, marshes are drained for farmland. Rivers are dammed and redirected. Mangrove forests are cleared for shrimp farming and urban expansion. The fishing cat cannot relocate to drier land. It cannot rewire thousands of years of adaptation in a single generation. Its waterproof coat, its webbed paws, its ripple technique, all of it was built for one specific environment. Destroy that environment, and every extraordinary thing about this animal becomes useless overnight. Pollution accelerates the damage. Pesticides and industrial waste flow into rivers and wetlands, poisoning the water, collapsing fish populations, shrinking the prey base the cat depends on every single day. When food disappears from the wetland, the fishing cat moves toward human settlements, toward fish farms, toward ponds, and when it arrives there, conflict follows. Cats are trapped, cats are killed. A population already losing ground to habitat destruction absorbs another blow it cannot easily recover from. The fishing cat is currently listed as vulnerable, not gone, not beyond saving, but declining, quietly, in places most people will never visit. In ecosystems most people do not think about until they are already half destroyed. Conservation efforts are underway. Wetlands are being protected in parts of India and Southeast Asia. Local communities near fishing cat habitats are being included in protection programs because no policy made in a distant office will hold without the people who actually live beside these animals. Small recoveries have happened where conditions improved. The animal responds when given the chance, but the chance is shrinking. Somewhere tonight, in a marsh that has no name on any tourist map, a fishing cat is crouching at the edge of dark water. Everything it is, every adaptation, every skill, every inherited trick, is focused entirely on the surface in front of it. It taps once, waits. Something beneath the surface rises, and then it moves. It has been doing this long before anyone thought to study it, long before anyone thought to protect it, long before anyone thought to make a documentary about it. It never needed an audience. It never needed our approval or our attention. It just needed the water to still be there. That is the part nobody ever showed you. Not the webbed paws, not the waterproof coat, not even the bait. The part nobody showed you is this, that while we were busy deciding what a cat is supposed to be, this one was already something else entirely. Something the water shaped over thousands of years. Something that found its place in the world completely on its own terms. And something we are very close to losing before most people ever learn it existed. That is on us.